Hello, welcome, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Great to have a good crowd in the meeting today. It's Thursday, it's November the 9th, and it's episode 23 already in this season 1. Maybe at some point we can switch to another season, maybe after the GA. Then we start a new kind of era here, sorry. And welcome everybody. Have a look at the agenda. And with no further ado, I say happy community meeting, and I hand over to Tom.
Hello, everybody. I don't know if I should be the one starting. David, what do you think? How does this work together? Because you also want to demo something around dynamic plugins. So should we go from the chronological order of installing and enabling the plugins and then look in how they work? Or should we leave people hanging and show them what they can get through dynamic plugins and afterwards, so they stay until the end of the meeting?
I'm not opinionated on that. We can, make everyone very hungry to know how it is installed by showing the nice stuff you're going to show. I mean, on my side, it's mainly just adding an additional, presenting the enhancements based on what I already presented, with the hand chart, with the enable, disable, the ability to inherit from the config you already have in the defaults. So, I mean, we can start with your part, I think, which is really the nicest of all what we have today.
Okay. Then I'm going to start. Tor, I'm stealing your screen share.
I will stop. Yes, go ahead.
So first things first, I don't have this demo very structured. So if there are any questions, please raise your hand or even start talking into it, because I can't see you at this moment. First of all, I would like to tell you about this documentation piece. It's work in progress. Together with David, we did a huge deal documenting all of these things, and what I'm going to talk today about are front-end plugins and how you can make them dynamic and how you can use them as a dynamic. Was there a question? No. So front-end plugins for Backstage, very well-known topic. It's a package with a certain role, right? Everybody knows that you install into your Backstage instance, expose, import React components and use it like that. Or there are various types of extensions that you can use. We will dive into that later on. If we want to make those dynamic, we prepared a couple of changes that you need to make in your package to make them dynamic, and that's mainly by installing our CLI, which can export dynamic assets, include those dynamic assets into your bundle, into your NPM, and create a script command, create a command that basically exports the package as a dynamic one. It implicitly creates a sculpt room configuration, assumes some sculpt room configuration, but if you want to customize it, here's how. What we essentially do, we create a single exposed module out of the whole NPM package, out of the whole plugin, and create a Webpack container name for it. You can customize it and have multiple distinct modules exposed from the plugin. We will talk about how you can install those or access those later on. But this will basically split the entry points into multiple entries, so you can access them separately. That will create a front-end plugin for you. On how to install them, how to enable them, David will talk more on later. Now we're going to take a look at what we have available here, and I'm going to switch to my app config here. So let me start a backstage instance. This is a backstage instance, local one, completely local. Nothing is dynamic at this point, or can be perceived as dynamic, right? What we do is we store dynamic plugins in a separate folder. So just copy pasting the plugin here, unpacking it, makes it basically discoverable to the backstage instance. David may be able later on talk more on this topic, but for our purpose here, it's sufficient to tell that there's a folder which contains the dynamically loaded plugins. These are automatically discovered, and now for us on the front-end side, it's a matter of configuring them. So let's take a quick look at our our core backstage instance without any dynamically loaded plugins, any customizations, right? So this is a fairly verbose UI. We have links card, about card, we have the dependencies, standard backstage stuff, but nothing special, nothing interesting here. So what we can do is enable particle plugins which are already available in our library of dynamically loaded plugins. These can be added after you build a container as a mounted folder, so you don't need to have it part of the container build. It can be a loaded component. So let's say I would like to see, for this particle component, I would like to use a mount point, which is a type of extension that we defined here as one of the actually now 4 extensions, 4 possible extensions. And this is basically very similar to the upstream declarative UI piece, which is saying I have a certain mount points. We recognize 2 types of each mount point. One is cards, the other is context. So cards are for the components, context are for React context. And I can mount this, I can mount a certain import name from a certain plugin onto this mount point. So this mount point tells me I want an entity page called issues, and I want to create a card there. And I want to import GitHub issues card component from this plugin. This is a standard plugin. It has this export. So this is an exported entity from that package. And I can just save this config. Backstage finds a config change, so it reloads, and I have an issues tab here. And since I don't have an issue connected to it. Okay. So maybe we can do actions that may be better. Yeah. So here, I've just switched the plugin that I'm loading. I'm loading the GitHub Actions plugin, which has entity GitHub Actions content, export, which I specify by the import name, and I load it to a CI tab. So I have a CI tab here. I have the GitHub Actions, and it works as a normal standard plugin as you would expect from a statically loaded plugin. But it's loaded not from the dependency tree. If I take a look into my package JSON, I don't have any GitHub Actions dependency here. Backstage plugin GitHub Actions, no, it's not here. So I'm loading it from elsewhere, and where from? It's loaded from a dynamic plugin here, GitHub Actions here. So this is the plugin that I'm loading. So this is an endpoint, right? I'm extending an existing page, and for endpoints on entity catalog, we have defined a couple of options, couple of config options that you can pass to it. One is layout, which basically accepts ASICS props component to Material UI, so I can tune how big the card is, where it's placed, and so on and so on. So let me find an example here that mounts to the overview page, for example, like this one. And I have a GitHub pull request card. So I can say I want this card to span 8 columns instead of 4. And now I'm adjusting how the UI behaves, how the layout works. And I can add additional cards to it, so I can get security insights from a different plugin. And you get a point. I'm just extending the UI in very declarative way and very configuration-driven way, how the layout is defined. I have also if conditions here, which serves the purpose of the well-known entity switch case options that you have in catalog, which either can reference, again, an import from the plugin itself. So this function exists within the plugin, and our code for dynamic plugins understands this, that yes, I want this to I want to reference this from the package itself, from the dynamic plugin. Or we have a couple of built-in functions that you can see in the documentation here. Is kind, is type, or has annotation. So most of the standard stuff that you would do on an entity switch. And I can say is kind, I don't know, API. Let's try that. This is not an API. This is a component. So I would guess that this pull request card will disappear. Yes, it disappeared. If I say component, here again. So that demonstrates the strength of our conditional rendering, which also allows you to specify how you want to approach the conditions. So if you want all the conditions to satisfy, if just one is enough or just exactly one is enough. So small DSL here to allow you to propagate your entity switch cases for conditionally rendered cards on different mount points. So this is the first type of extension, right? Mount points. You need to refer an existing mount point. You need to say which exported component you want to, or you may not even want to say that. There are a couple of options that you will find in the documentation that you can specify import name and module. If import name is not specified, the default export is used. If module is not specified, the default automatically created Sculptrum export from here is used. So you can, in case you are exposing multiple modules, you can specify which one you want to load. If you don't specify it, the default is loaded. This part is similar to our other extensions. So for example, let me go into the OCM. I don't have OCM hooked up at this moment, but it will work for the demo purposes. I have two more extension facilities here shown. One is dynamic routes, which I can use to load dynamic routes, so full page extensions. And I have a new menu entry here, and I have a new UI piece on this route. If I disable it again, this path will not exist on the application, and there's no menu item entry anymore. So by just enabling this config and having this plugin within my dynamic plugins root folder, I've extended the backstage application router with a new view, with a new card. The menu item is extended through this configuration. So if I don't do this, I will just get the new path in there. But usually with full page extensions, you want to expose that in the menu, in the top level navigation, right? So we have this facility here, and the icons referred here are the system icons for Backstage. So Backstage has an internal icon registry that you can refer, that you can reference, and you can get an icon from it. So I can change this to help, for example, and I will get a new icon here. I will get a question mark. So I can reference the standard icons, or if I'm not satisfied with the selection, I can extend this app icons registry. So I can say, I want to import OCM icon from this plugin and name it OCM icon in the internal registry. So just do a mapping. This is the import that I want. This is the exported component that I want to be loaded into the app icons. And now I have this new icon here that I've added into the app icons. So that's two more extension points covered: full page extensions and app icons. And there's a third one, which I don't think is that interesting, so I will not demo it at this stage. It's road binding. So you are probably used to binding stuff from here and there between creating cross plugin references between different plugins through bind commands when creating the application. So we also have a facility that allows you to do this through the dynamic configuration. So that I think satisfies most of the needs for UI pieces at this stage when it comes to loading declarative or dynamic content. And just to get a glimpse on how this may populate, how this may look like when I get a full application, I can get much more content into my backstage just by enabling dynamic plugins. So I certainly don't have this hooked to all the necessary pieces, but you get the point. There's so much more I have within my backstage without installing additional dependencies. Just by declaring some stuff in my config, I can define the placement, I can define the conditions under which things are being rendered or are not rendered, and so on. So this allows me to greatly, yes, this is, I shouldn't be touching this button. I should be touching this one. This
fix of this one just after.
Yes, I know we have a pending PR for that.
in the next demo, I mean.
Oh, you have it?
Well, it's still on my branch, but
yeah. So we have all these extensions here, and one thing that I forgot to mention with the dynamic routes, which I have here, I can't override any of the existing routes within Backstage. So if it already exists in my Backstage instance, I can't do it, with a single exception, and that's the home route. So if I'm not satisfied with how this page looks like, I can replace it with a page from my plugin, from my dynamically loaded plugin. So I can say this should mount to a path home, and instead of this, I will get my managed clusters on the home page. So that further allows me to get additional customization of my Backstage experience with the Janus Showcase at its core, but delivering a completely user-tailored experience through dynamic plugins on the front-end side, which complement our previous demos that David did on the backend plugin. So if you enable, if you have a plugin that has a complementary section, one is a front-end plugin, the other is a backend plugin, now you can enable both at the same time and have that functionality fully loaded from basically outside of the build container image and have that injected dynamically. So I think that kind of concludes my demo at this stage. Do you have any questions? Yes, Jason.
Yeah, so how does this kind of jive with the upstream, or does it?
It does not. So upstream was working on something called declarative UI or front-end system evolution, which firstly is not feature complete. Secondly, it's not stable, and third of all, is completely different from the RFC that's being published on upstream. So our hands are very tight when it comes to building a solution on top of this work. So instead, we created a solution that is based on the old front-end system. It's not an ideal solution, but it supports our use case, our usage of how we envision the front-end plugins to be loaded dynamically. And the long-term goal or long-term plan is to bring this solution to upstream, get this donated to upstream backstage, and have all of this work based on the new routing system, the new front-end declarative UI piece. So it can be used with the new system. So this is sort of a Janus-only solution at this moment, and in long run, there will be some migration required on top of the new front-end system. The new front-end system has a lot of differences, so it may also require changes in those plugins themselves, which, for example, we don't require. So there's a lot of unknowns around the front-end system evolution at this stage, which we can't really build features on top of, right? So we can only work with what is stable at this moment and what we can use as a stable platform.
That makes sense. Thanks. One other question I had, and I stepped away at the beginning, so if you covered this, I apologize, but I noticed you had like the mount point or mount path there, right, to a local plugin. Can you point that to like an NPM registry instead of having it local?
Not in the application configuration. The application is loading plugin from a static catalog that is stored on the instance. The way how it gets loaded into the instance is a separate topic, and this can refer to NPM. So we are basically, we don't want backstage users to on every page load to access NPM registry and download packages from there. We want to unpack those assets on the server and have them served from the server, right? So you can reference NPM packages, but they are downloaded into the NPM into the backstage backend, into the backstage server, and they are served from there.
So if I'm running in a container, where does that go? Just into the container?
That, I think, is very related to David's demo, and David can maybe show that in a couple of minutes. What do you think, David?
Yes, probably, because it might be that the demo answers the question, or at least gives a basis to answer.
Yeah, we kind of separated this into two different areas. One is interfacing with the plugins that are available to the instance and how they are loaded and how they are used and accessed by clients and whatnot. And the other is how they get to the instance, how they are loaded, how they are basically installed, how the instance is populated with those dynamic plugins. So that's two separate actions that happen at different times.
Okay, and then would David talk about how you take like a third-party plugin and get it in the state?
Yes, as well. Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'll be patient then. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's the whole installation and loading part of it. Yeah. Should I start?
I don't know. Are there any more questions?
Yes. I mean, if there aren't.
There aren't. So you can start.
as the last time, I will show this demo of the installation of dynamic plugins on an OpenShift local instance. Mainly, I mean, that could be any Kubernetes, but at least Kubernetes with the Helm installation method. That doesn't mean that obviously dynamic plugins are not available outside of the Helm installation. Of course they are, but that's as Tom mentioned previously, when you're working locally, it's mainly copying the relative the various dynamic plugin packages in a single root folder mainly. So that's something that we do sort of manually. The good thing with the Helm chart is that all this is taken care from mainly just one list of plugins and related of dynamic plugins and related configurations. And this list, as I will show, covers both front-end plugins and backend plugins. So they are mainly either found locally in, for example, the Docker image of the pod of the container, or referred to from an external package spec, npm-like package spec. But in any case, the distribution, I mean, the grabbing of the packages and the installation of the package are exactly the same for front-end and backend plugins. Then that's how we use the content of this package, which is different. For the backend, you will just load that into the Node application through a dynamic import. For the front end, you will have to make those, the corresponding static or the corresponding static assets available through a REST endpoint to the front end application mainly. But the installation is all at the same place and from the same source. So here, here I have a really basic backstage. In fact, the backstage where we removed all the plugins, the showcase, where we removed all the previously statically built plugins. So there is nothing inside. Now, if I go here in the Helm chart, and I would first try to add an external plugin. So let me copy this here and explain. We'll put that somewhere in the Helm chart. Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, what's that? Seems to be my copy paste. Here, yes, that's better. So here we have the new dynamic entry in the Helm chart with a plugins list. And for each plugin you want to add, you have a package here, which is a package spec. So you can either point to a real, spec in an NPM registry mainly, in which case you have to provide the corresponding integrity of the package so that we are sure that we effectively get, what we download is effectively what we expect to have. And then you can optionally add a plugin config and something else I will show later on. So by default, when you add a plugin, it will be enabled, loaded, obviously. So here we find back the front-end configuration that Tom just spoke about. That will define where we will place our Quay UI for this front-end plugin. So let's restart here, just do an upgrade of the Helm chart and see that. Okay, hopefully now we have another one, a rolling upgrade, and something which is starting here. So we have the install dynamic plugins, in fact, is the init container that gets this list and installs in a given volume, ephemeral volume, all the plugins that are all the plugins packages that are required. So here we install only once, and then obviously the normal backstage start has occurred. If we go now here and refresh, now we have the image registry, which is filled with some stuff. It seems that Quay is not very good these days. But anyway, we have the new tab. So now I would like to show you another aspect, which is the fact that in the showcase, previously in the showcase, you had quite a big number of plugins already statically linked into it. And we don't want to lose that. And so we bundled, in fact, inside the showcase Docker image, a number of plugins which are already pre-configured. So this I will be able to enable very easily by just adding here this line includes, okay, I did not even prepare it, but that's not a problem. There is a file in the Docker image that you can also find into in the Backstage Showcase repository, which is dynamic plugins. Okay, so default.yaml, that's mainly this one, where you can see that you have a big list with exactly the same syntax. You have a big list of plugins, most of which are disabled by default because they expect you to provide some specific configuration to be able to start. So since we don't want to crash loop back at start for a missing configuration, by default, all those available plugins, most of them at least, are disabled by default. So let me just add this include here. And we will get the definition of all those plugins in what the installer at start is seeing. Let's go back to the init here. Okay, so what did I do? Oh, I just made a mistake manually. Let me restart here. Okay, yeah, obviously it's a list and not a string. Okay. So now let's see the restart of it. Okay, and now we can precisely see that you have a number of plugins which are skipped because disabled by default due to the fact that they require some specific configuration to be effective and starting. And we can find this one at the very end, the plugin Lighthouse. So let's take it and enable it, or stop disabling it, if we can say so, by just overriding in the plugins list here. If I mention a plugin that already, whose definition has already been imported from one includes here, then I can override the fields which is defined in the included file. So if I do disabled false here and restart that, then I will agree using this plugin, which was already predefined and available in the Docker image, also with the already predefined configuration that goes hand in hand with it, and precisely all the position, location and UI settings that Tom showed. And that's quite interesting because that allows us in the showcase, by default, providing all those plugins in the Docker image, along with the preferred or default configuration and UI placement for those. Of course, you can change that just by overriding the plugin config. So now we can see that we also installed the Quay. Probably it's already started. And so if we, no, not the Quay, sorry, it was the Lighthouse. And now we get this, which was mounted precisely. If we go there and search for Lighthouse, and you can see that there is exactly the mount point that Tom discussed and presented, with the dynamic route that we find back there. But all this aspect of being able to just include a file which possibly exists somewhere, in the pod. Here it's already built in the Docker image, because those are the plugins which would be, supported in the case of the showcase, built with the showcase. But obviously you could even, add another include here with a list that maybe comes from some volume, anything that you want to set up in your pod, and then possibly in the list of plugins also override either the fact that it's disabled or enabled, or even you can override the plugin config if you want for any plugins which is provided in some of those includes here. Do you have any question?
So when you added that package there, the Janus IDP backstage plugin Quay, and you showed the sidecar container kind of loading that, where did it put it? Because it's got to download it, right?
Sure. So we can have a quite clear idea of that if we go a bit down in the Helm chart. In fact, mostly values are changed. It's still, the Helm chart is still based on the backstage Helm chart. But what it does is just add an init container here that, a quite simple script that, goes through this list and does an npm pack in a given volume mount, in fact. And the volume mount you can find here, dynamic plugins root, which is also then mounted in the main container. So the init container will mainly just download all those packages either from an external place or, copy them from a local place in the Docker image or in some of the volume. And then the main backstage container will just find them back here in the dynamic plugins root folder as well, which is mounted on the same volume. So it's just sharing a volume between the init container and the main backstage container. And this way you can start backstage with all the dynamic plugins already installed and available with their merged app config, which is mainly the merge of all the config fragments which were brought with all the enabled plugins. Does it answer the question?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
So obviously here it's an empty dir. I mean, but surely quite soon we will change that to by default use an ephemeral generic volume, which is backed by a persistent volume claim, which obviously makes it much more robust. I mean, Kubernetes wise and storage wise. Yeah. Any other question? So obviously, would not have been required to include this Quay plugin from outside because it's part of the plugins which are included by default and available by default in the showcase Docker image. But that was just to showcase the two distinct options here. Any other question?
Okay. Thank you both for this great update, demo, tutorial, whatever you call it. More questions about any of these?
What about taking like a third-party plugin? How do we make it dynamic?
That's what the documentation I've showed earlier serves for. I'm going to pass the link in the chat. So There's a bit of a difference between a package or plugin that is currently working with normal Backstage. I can type at the same time as, as talking. So there's quite a difference between a static Backstage extension at this point, Backstage plugin at this point. It differs in the assets it produces. For dynamic plugins on the backend, we need a different type of NPM package. For assets on the front end, we need actually browser compatible JavaScript assets, right? We don't need an NPM package, and currently front-end extensions are an NPM package. So that's why you are required to build your package differently. What we made possible through Janus CLI, export dynamic plugin command, is that you can make your current plugin work both ways. So you can extend its functionality to basically act as a hybrid plugin that can be used as a dynamic or can be used as a static in both types of instances or both types of use cases, since the same instance can use also static plugins. So it can provide you a seamless migration path between a static plugin and a dynamic plugin. All that is required for you to change on the plugin side is described in the documentation. It's a bit more code invasive on the backend side, because the backend system on Backstage is more opinionated and doesn't allow us that much of a freedom of choice how we reference dynamic assets. And on the front-end side, it's just about enabling that command for my plugin. This, I think, what's also very important to say, these dynamic plugins won't work for everybody for every Backstage instance. That instance needs to be configured in a very specific way. For backend plugins, this is more aligned with the upstream, but it's not 100% compatibility, because we need some configuration specific bits and pieces here and there. So until we get those solutions into fully supported upstream solution, those dynamic plugins will work only in instances that are based on Janus Showcase. I think that's a very important limitation. We are not claiming compatibility with any Backstage instance out there. So you can't just throw a dynamic plugin against a Backstage instance and assume it will work. It won't.
Maybe on the backend. Right. Sorry. Go on, Tristan.
I was just going to say, but the other way works, right? You can take any plugin, make it dynamic, and it'll work with Janus.
Yes, that's mainly.
That's the intention. I don't want to be on the hook for telling you every plugin will work.
That's fair. I get it.
And that mainly boils down to Backstage version compatibility issues.
Sure.
Because you can have a plugin that's built or created for a certain Backstage version, and since we know that Backstage doesn't adhere to Semver and declaring breaking changes properly in breaking changes version updates, you can't assume that if I depend on Backstage errors 1.2.3 and my plugin depends on Backstage 1.2.2, that this will be compatible. So yeah, the support matrix is fairly challenging there.
Yeah, and then obviously there would be possibly some corner cases that we will still have to study. For example, plugins that would include native assets, which we already don't really support, at least not really tested, and also some plugins that would use non-typical ways. For example, define their own API as a distinct package and then depend on it. Or I mean, you may have some plugins which are really structured in very specific ways, which on the front end could make it quite hard to support that in the generic approach that Tom presented. But these are probably things that we can discover and fix step by step in the future. But the typical backstage plugin should normally be compatible with the system we are just presenting now.
Yeah, we're currently aware of a couple of corner cases that we've been very surprised to find about that certain plugins work in mysterious ways and are using not very known backstage functionalities to plug into or to extend. Yes, those are known issues, but it's a first version of how we do all of these things, so don't expect us to solve every corner case out there, especially in something like backstage.
Yeah,
maybe
definitely follow the 80-20 rule. Yeah.
Yeah, and as for the question about how to make a plugin dynamic and publish it, maybe I can add that on the backend side of things, if you want to publish the plugins in order to have them downloadable from an NPM registry, as I showed, for the backend case you would have to publish two assets. In fact, you typically publish your plugin in an NPM registry, but then there is a derived package whose name is just suffixed with dynamic. And why do we need a derived package? First, because we might in some cases add very small amount of code, but even if there is no code addition, we have to rebuild the package in order to tweak the dependencies, because at the end of the day, what you want to download in Backstage as a dynamic backend plugin is a self-contained package which possibly embeds also private non-module dependencies in order for this to be really self-contained. And this requirement makes it so that the built package for dynamic plugin ingestion on the backend side is an alternate package. It's a derived package based on the main plugin package. So I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's completely the export dynamically command that we provide allows doing that, and then you would just npm publish the alternate package as well at the same place with a derived name, and then it's available. But we still have to keep in mind that there would be two published package in the case of backend plugins.
But just to wrap it up, in general, creating or making any Backstage plugin, turning it into a dynamically loadable asset is possible, and there's a path described how to get to there in the documentation. And for example, we do that for a couple of, I'm gonna steal a screen share one more. We do that for a couple of upstream plugins already, because we want to package them. We want to package them as part of our Janus Showcase, right? So, for example, here we have the Backstage plugin Azure, and all this package does, it's not even published package, is we load the CLI, we depend on the upstream upstream package, and we have a single source file here, source index, which says export everything from the Backstage plugin, from the upstream one. And we just run this through the export dynamic command and just expose it as the dynamic assets. So we don't even need to write any heavyweight wrappers on the front-end side. We just re-export what is available on that existing plugin, or it doesn't even need to be an existing Backstage plugin. We can, for example, here in OCM, that's our own plugin, which is already compatible with both ways, but we also export symbols from other packages, not just from the plugin itself. So we want to say, hey, we have an OCM icon for this plugin, and it's actually a Material UI icon. We don't create our own icon for this particular plugin at this stage. So we just re-export that from that dependency. So this is a way how you can get dynamically loaded foreign third-party libraries into your front end. So it doesn't need to be a Backstage plugin if you want to add a React component from a third-party library somewhere, and it doesn't even need to relate to Backstage at all. It can be a standard React component. So this really should give you a bit of an idea that this is fairly agnostic to what Backstage puts into those plugins on the front-end side, at least.
Yeah, I'd say that on the backend side, it's a bit the same. Just instead of just re-exporting everything, as Tom said, for the front end, you have a very small amount of code to write for now, and until we switch to the new backend system. You have a small amount of code just to create a named entry point that mainly just takes other things and exports them, but that's also described in the documentation. And with this condition, then you can also wrap as a dynamic backend plugin any plugin which is provided by a third party, which we do in the showcase for Rowdy and Backstage plugins already. Maybe just one word about how we foresee the future of this, at least on the backend side. Clearly, the small amount of code, which is this entry point wiring code that you have to add in order to make a backend plugin dynamic. This is mainly related to the fact that we are now still using the old backend system. As soon as the new backend system, which is still in alpha for parts of it, would be completely out of alpha and really adopted in the community, there is already the plan and the overall solution is already designed to switch to this new backend. And at this time, we probably will not be required to add any code anymore, in fact, but just reuse the new backend system, entry point as it is, and directly expose that as the dynamic plugin entry point. So we are still in a transitional situation where the, let's say, sort of API that we use to create those entry points for the dynamic plugins would not be, it's mainly a temporary thing which would disappear as soon as we switch to the new backend system. But since it's maybe 10 lines of code or less, that's not a big deal.
Don't complain, David. You're much further along the path of making this upstream compatible than we are on the front end. Good. And I see we have like 4 minutes remaining for the last topic that I had touched in between those, that's the third bullet point. And that's just a very short heads up and notice about this PR that Frank submitted quite a while ago, and we finally got to merging it. It's a very important change in my eyes in how a couple of our backend, or maybe all of our backend plugins behave. We have a consistent behavior now in how schedulers are configured. So as you may be aware of, backend plugins which schedule some tasks, some backend asynchronous jobs, usually allows you to define two options how to configure when they are scheduled. One is scheduler and one is schedule, which is a very great naming convention because it doesn't it's confusing me all the time, so I don't know about you. But the merit is that one is in JavaScript in code, the other is in configuration file. So what we did and make sure of is that always the YAML configuration has a preference, is preferred over the JavaScript code. So that case, you can use the plugin and define a default behavior through JavaScript and have a configuration that adjusts this behavior through appconfig.yaml. So you don't need to rebuild that backstage instance in order to change a scheduling somewhere. You just need to apply a different configuration. And we make sure this is consistent across all our plugins. So if that's a plugin that you consume from Janus IDP, you can be sure that this is the case now. I think that's a huge usability change and great stuff.
Yeah.
Good. Seems like there are no questions to it or to anything else. Do we have any questions? Any more questions? We have 1 more minute, so be fast.
I think one of the questions we're going to have moving forward is how do we move out of tech preview for dynamic plugin support? I know that's a bit of a loaded question with a minute left, but it's just something that we're probably going to start needing to think about.
Maybe on the product side, here we are a Janus community, so we don't have any support to anything.
Right, my bad.
So everything's out there usable. If you find an issue, please open an issue on GitHub. We appreciate any issues that you find. Please try to use it. Try to find corner cases. We want to fix them.
Hey. Then I would say thank you. We are on the minute. And thanks, David. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, the audience, for all the questions, and have a wonderful rest of the day. See you latest in 2 weeks, otherwise in any of the other channels, and have a wonderful day and rest of the day. Bye-bye.